Hello, I wanted to make this video to share with you something I learned about how to make dependent or sometimes called contingent drop-down lists in Microsoft Excel. Now, this is actually a very simple tool to use. And so the reason I wanted to share this video with you is because, or what I've learned, is because it is actually much simpler than a lot of the videos and websites I've seen led me to believe. So just to start out, I wanted to explain the little example I set up based on kinds of animals that people own. And so in column A, our primary column, we could pick pets, circus animals, or farm animals. So with pets, now whatever we pick here, again, our primary column, will determine what we can pick in our dependent column. So if we pick pets, then we could pick typical pets like cat, dog, goldfish, and rabbit. I'll go with dog. If we pick circus, then we'll see what are traditionally more thought of as circus animals. You could take tiger there, and then for a farm, we have more what are typically thought of as farm animals, and I'll pick chicken because we have a few of those at home. Now, you could have anything here. You could have food, you could have cars and machinery, anything in your inventory, whatever you need people to enter data about, and whatever categorization scheme you want to use. So this, again, just meant to be simple and more importantly, show you how it works. So the key here is to understand what the tool does. And so I'm going to walk you first through what every video and website will tell you as far as making the primary drop-down list. So when you want to make a drop-down list here, they don't have drop-downs yet. Well, how do we make those? Well, we go up here. We usually start at home, but then we need to move over and pick data. So usually start at home, go to data, and then those sites and videos will tell you to look for data validation, which you cannot see here if you're just looking at these. However, you want to look for the check mark and the red circle with a line through it, and then click the drop down there and pick data validation. Right? Or if you hover over it, it'll also say data validation. Pick that. Now, this tool allows you to specify what or which data are allowed or what kinds of data are allowed in the cell. Any value is the default for all cells. And then there's this drop down. I'll show you there's various options. You can use these other options might be of interest to you. To do a drop down list, you pick list. And now what it's asking you here is what list do you want this limited to? And again, most other sites and videos will tell you, click the up arrow here, and then we have set up our options on this page. Just focus on column A for a minute. I'll come back to these other subcategories in a second and what they do. And then you pick the options you want. Exclude the header or title label, whatever you want to call that, just the options you want in the drop-down list. You highlight those and you'll see here, it gives you a range from A2 to A4 in the values worksheet, which is here. If you click that down arrow or hit enter, that will show up in the source and you hit OK. And voila, you can pick now here. Also, if you want that to work as far down the column as you want, you just copy that down, and now all these. Now, of course, these don't unless you copy it down further, which you can do that as much or as little as you like. Or you could do the whole column if you prefer. Now, the real trick is how do we get the options in these drop-down boxes to be limited to based on what's in the primary column A, and to be different depending on what's in column A. All right, so you start out the same way, and well, let me first go back to here to values. You have to specify those. Now, in my way of doing it, I just made a horizontal list so you can see which ones they go to. You can make vertical lists, so you could have these over here, and I'm going to transpose them, and you could do it that way too if you want it. It doesn't matter, and that will make sense in a moment why it doesn't. What really is important is that we have to name that range. So this is called pets, and that name needs to match what's in your primary column. So the primary category, that name needs to match what you name this range of cells, because what we're telling the tool is to look for the range of cells that has that name. Now we could name this one and we could call that pets2, and that will also work if we did it. It doesn't really matter where it is, and what matters instead is what it's called. So if we go back through here, now we have these. We will come back and do the same steps again with data validation, and we're going to use something called the indirect function. So it equals indirect, and then we refer it back to the primary column, the cell that corresponds. So not just the primary column, but that cell. So we're on B2, we want to be on A2 here. And I'm typing it in manually, and I'll show you why. Because if you want to click it, you can, but then you have to get these dollar signs out. Otherwise, and there might be scenarios you want to do that. And I'll show you that if you leave those dollar signs in and you copy this down, then all these subsequent cells, their options will be based on what you have in A2, not in the cell next to them. If we take the dollar signs out, you'll see why I type this in manually. As soon as I take the arrows and so forth, it starts adding new cells. So I'm just going to type over that A2. This is normal. You get this error, and the reason you get the error is because there's nothing in A2 right now. It's fine. Just hit yes. Now we can test it. So now if we go pets, and we come here, now we have the pet options. Or if we go to circus, we'll have the circus options and so forth. Now, like this one, we had to copy down. If we copy this down, then we can do the same thing. It won't work until we pick something. So if we pick farm here, then we can pick the farm options and so forth. And again, you can copy those as far down as you want, including the entire column. So that's up to you. So I want to reiterate that the key to making this work is understanding that it's referring to a list of cells, and you're telling it what list. And for it to make the dependent list, it needs to use this information to pick the list of options. And so that's why we name this range to be this. This is the name of that range, and it matches the name of the key option of the primary category. All right. So another way to show how that can work, suppose I was redoing this and I wanted to do kinds of animal again, right? And how the names work, and they only refer to a list, and it can be any orientation. So I'll do it in any place. So I'll start over, and I'm gonna actually call this range kinds. Right now, I can set this option up. Spread that out, put species here, show you how the vertical one will work as well. And I can go, data validation, list, and then I can go equals indirect. Instead of using a cell reference, I can just put the name in quotes. You have to put it in quotes of the named range and hit OK, and boom, there it is. Just the same thing, okay? And then lastly, to show that it can be verticals, and I'll do that with these as well. They don't have to be the same order, right? I can just call this circus 2. I guess they are in the same order. They don't have to have headers. Farm 2, right? Well, actually, that won't work because these don't have the same name. So if I change these, all right, I'll change those names. Watch this. I have to remember that because it has to be the same. And probably that's a happy accident, as we call in some areas like Argentine tango. Though I didn't mean to do that, but it illustrates the point. Now, if we call these pets2, and then I'm going to do the contingents or the dependent specification here. So the same thing, you pick list. So you should be anticipating what I'm putting, and I put equals indirect, and that's going to be F2. Boom. And sure enough, it works the same way. All right, and copy the, oops, that's not what I want to do. Let's delete that. First, copy that down. Now do it. Let's do, copy this down. I can pick whatever I want. This one, say farm, and there you go. Okay, so I hope that helps you as that, or that little insight helps you as much as it helped me. Thanks you for watching my video, and please provide any comments if you have any questions or feedback that might be useful. Thank you. Take care.